When I first started experiencing symptoms from ankylosing spondylitis, I was very depressed because there was no way for me to release energy. There was no way for me to work out, to get moving. I was dealing with too much pain, the sciatica, the stiffness and tightness. Workout seemed impossible. It seems like I wasn't going to be able to do anything that I used to do. And movement, exercise, that was my whole identity since early childhood. My career was in health and fitness. I always thought my career was going to be in health and fitness. I used movement early on as a kid for everything. That was my whole identity. Playing pickup basketball, jump roping, shadow boxing. I was all about movement. I was all about the power of movement, the beauty of movement. So when I started experiencing symptoms, I was very depressed because everything changed for me. And I had no clue how I was going to release energy. I was depressed. I was anxious. I didn't know how to get out of that hole. And what happened was I was so desperate to get moving again. I was so desperate to release energy. I started thinking of anything I could do just to get started. So this all kind of started when I was in physical therapy. Simultaneously with ankylosing spondylitis, I was dealing with a shoulder injury that was pretty bad. I had surgery, I had to do rehab, so I was in physical therapy, and that was my only exercise. But I was going to physical therapy and just doing band work, just doing gentle stretches and foam rolling and going to physical therapy, I started to feel a little better, and I realized, all right, maybe I have to start with this stuff, right? I have to start with physical therapy. And I started thinking about how else can I get a little bit of movement going around the house. I started doing my physical therapy techniques around the house and just coming up with different stretches. Again, my background was in personal training, wasn't movement, wasn't exercise. So I started moving at home, walking around the house, and just building on these movements that didn't seem like workouts, right? A lot of people will say, well, that's not working out, that's rehab. But to me at the time, that was working out. So I started to build on that. And I started to think of other ways to release energy, even just using resistance bands, flexibility around the house. That became my foundation. And then I started doing things like the sauna. So when I was really dealing with sciatica, and I was just so aggravated, limping around, I couldn't go play pickup basketball, I would go use the sauna and just sweat and concentrate and work on the mind, work on the body. So I started to figure out different alternatives to working out, especially in the beginning. And what I did also is I started going to the gym and using resistance machines, right? Another one of those things where people say, use dumbbells, bench press, do all those other things. Those are much better than machines. Forget about that. I started using machines because I could release my energy. I could work on strength in a more controlled manner. So if I was dealing with sciatica, if I was limping around, I go use machines. I work on back strength. I get the legs moving. So I started to have all these different things I could turn to that, some would say those aren't workouts. Well, I started to put together them, and I started to get a lot stronger, a lot more flexible. And that became my foundation. And I realized as I started to work this up, I was getting stronger, I was getting more flexible, and this led me to be able to do more things. I started adding in dumbbells, I started adding in more traditional strength, doing some yoga techniques, but the key here is find things you can do consistently that you can build off of that aren't causing more pain, that you can do when the hip's tight, when you're dealing with sciatica, rehab exercises, stretching around the house, moving around, walking, using the sauna. So find some different tools to work on the mental health, to work on releasing energy, to work on the confidence, to motivate yourself to keep going. That's how I built it. And I saw the power in all these different healthy behaviors that I would have never thought about before ankylosing spondylitis. I never used the sauna. I do a lot of cold therapy also, but yoga techniques, flexibility, I started doing different things I never even thought about because, truly I didn't need to, right? So find those things you can do in that struggle when you're really dealing with the tightness, the stiffness, and you just have to get moving. Break it down a little bit, start small, find just some things you can stick to, like physical therapy techniques, modified yoga stretches, using the sauna, meditation, cold therapy, whatever works for you. Just moving around the house a couple minutes, and over time, that's how you can build. See you next time.